Welcome back, everyone, to the Bitcoin Business Bureau. I'm your host, as always, LitecoinLeader. Today, it's another ride-along day. I debated whether this is going to be a one-part or two parts, but we're just going to tell a story, talk about some things, and just see where it goes. So today's topic is about buyers of last resort. We're going to talk about gold, we're going to talk about Russia, we're going to talk about the ruble, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. So, first off, I talked about a video, I did a video a couple weeks ago when basically the ruble was tied to gold. And I'll post that right up here. I think that's the right corner. I don't know. If it's the wrong corner, then I'll put it over here. But I'm pretty sure, I don't know which hand it is. I'm all messed up. I haven't done a drive along in 2 weeks, so I don't even remember which hand to raise. But okay, the ruble, it was announced almost a month ago. I don't remember. The time is just a blur at this point. But recently, between now and the end of February, Russia tied the ruble to gold. But you need to do some math. When the story came out, that they said 5,000 rubles was 1 gram of gold. Well, then you need to know how many grams were in an ounce of gold to figure it all out and then translate rubles to dollars. You also needed to know a special thing, which is that gold uses troy ounces, not normal ounces. That probably goes way back. I didn't do the history on it, but basically I think troy ounces is a different, it's 31.1 grams in a little bit of change versus 28, 29 grams for a normal ounce. It does matter. So when you start to do the math, there's like 3 conversions. So you have 5,000 rubles for a gram, you have 31.1 grams and change per ounce or troy ounce, and then you have the exchange rate of US dollars and rubles. And when you do all that math, you're basically looking at about 166 and change thousand rubles for an ounce of gold. Now, back when this came out, the ruble had already dipped a lot because of the conflict in Europe, but then it started to come back, and basically the ruble was a penny, essentially. So made the math very simple. 166,000, you just move the decimal place twice, and now it's $1,660 for an ounce of gold. So they became the buyer of last resort for gold. And I'll explain that in a moment, but basically it was a discount to where gold was, being $1,900 to $2,000 an ounce. So I initially thought incorrectly that, I do get stuff wrong, it happens, you're human, but I thought that the US dollar would come down to match where the ruble was, and the gold would come down to around $1,600, $1,700 an ounce. Well, that's not how it played out. What happened instead was that the ruble went up. It went from 1 penny to 1.2 cents. So while you could have made a killing if you timed the ruble right, you could have made over 50% on your money inside of a month, because when sanctions came out, they all thought the ruble was going to go to zero. It was like 3/4 of a penny, and now you could turn 3/4 of a penny into 1.2 cents. But that new conversion rate of 1.2, that matters, because 1.2 times 1,660, now you're in the 1,900 to 2,000 range. So you're right at, now there's the arbitrage, which I mentioned in that older video. I'm going to guess there, but I don't know. But the older video, where I talked about the ruble and gold, I thought that gold was going to come down to $1,600, $1,700, and this arbitrage of $2,000 for dollars versus $1,650 or so for rubles would get wiped out, and people would, and it has gotten wiped out, but the way it got wiped out is that the value of the ruble went up. So now that 1.2 rubles is, or a ruble is 1.2 cents, means that the ruble's worth 20% more, and 20% of 1,660, you add about 300-ish, and you get to 2,000. So now gold, 2,000 an ounce. So now it comes to Russia is still the buyers of last resort. What does that mean? A buyer of last resort sets a bottom price. And let me give an example to explain how this works. So let's imagine you're a farmer and you grow lots of different food, and you're going to go to a farmer's market once a week. And this farmer's market, it's a premium farmer's market. Everything's organic. People pay a lot of money for it. And you think you can get about $5 a pound for your, it's called 1,000 pounds of produce. And I don't know, that sounds like a lot. I don't know if that would physically fit in a car. I think it would, but it depends on how dense the fruits and vegetables are. But let's just say, for round numbers, you have fruits and vegetables, and you go once a week 100 miles out of your way to a special premium farmer's market, and your goal is to sell everything for roughly $5 a pound on average. Now, while you're there, you meet a guy named Steve who has a local farm, and he wants to be your buyer of last resort. He says, look, at the end of the day, I know you came a long way, you got a lot of good stuff, but I'm going to buy everything for $1 or a pound at the end of your day. Now, if you don't want to lug it home, you just bring it over to me. I'm going to either use it myself, or I'm going to use it to feed my livestock because I want to keep them healthy and make them organic too. So you say, you know what, that's not a bad idea. I'm going to sell as much as I can on this particular Saturday, and maybe you sell 80% of your stuff. 800 pounds at $5, you made $4 grand for the day. Gross. You grossed $5 grand a day. And so you net like 3,500 or whatever. It's a good day. It's been a good day. I don't know the numbers, but I'm just throwing them out there. But let's just say you grossed $4,000 from selling 80% of what you have for sale. And at the end of the day, you don't want to lug home back a bunch of stuff. You're out there, you're with your significant other. You want to go out to dinner, enjoy the benefits and the fruits of your labor, so to speak. And just say, go out to dinner, enjoy you don't want to drive that long hour and a half back home, 2 hours maybe, and lugging back 100 to 200 pounds of produce. Not your idea of a good time. So you contact Steve, get his information, say, you know what, Steve, at the end of the day, I'm going to come over and I'm going to sell you that last couple hundred pounds, whatever I get left. We'll just weigh it. You give me the money. That's gas money and dinner, which works out great. My wife is going to love that. So that's the plan. So he becomes your buyer of last resort. It's not your go-to guy, but it's your guy when you said, I need to sell everything and be done with it. So bring it back to gold. Russia is now the buyer of last resort for gold. They have set the bar. They set the minimum price of gold being $1,900 to $2,000 an ounce. So if gold starts going up, that's great. But if the marketplace starts to sour, it will never go below the buyer of last resort. So now we come back to crypto. The buyer of last resort. We now have a gold established. We've gone back to the gold standard. We thought maybe the U.S. would do it, but actually it turns out to be Russia has done it. And now we're seeing how that all plays out. And maybe other countries do it with other depressed currencies to try to reinvigorate their currencies and their local economies. Maybe Zimbabwe, maybe Venezuela, maybe Colombia, Argentina, Greece, Turkey, Vietnam. Who knows who it is, but they can do the same thing that Russia did and say, we'll be a buyer last resort too. Maybe they set it to $2,100 an ounce. Who knows? But it creates more value and demand for their currency. Now we go to crypto. Finally, for crypto, now that everybody sees the value of Venezuela, maybe Colombia, Argentina, Greece, Turkey, Vietnam, who knows who it is, but they can do the same thing that Russia did and say, we'll be a buyer last resort too. Maybe they set it to $2,100 an ounce. Who knows? But it creates more value and demand for their currency. Now we go to crypto. Finally, for crypto, now that everybody sees the value of gold and how valuable it is, and precious metals are becoming king yet again, now we move on to crypto, and people will start to notice that Bitcoin is digital gold, Litecoin is digital silver. These coins have value too, and they're much more portable and they're much more secure than just using gold alone. So now the value, the denomination, the currency of last resort starts to become crypto, and they all get the space value thanks to Russia setting to the gold standard. So that's what a buyer of last resort is. I'm going to talk about real estate probably tomorrow because we're about to wrap this one up, but I'll just leave it there. Leave comments down below. What do you think about the buyer of last resort story? Do you follow it? Do you understand it? Does it make sense to you? Are you interested in learning things like that more? So with all that said, I'm going to close the drawer in the bureau for today. Say follow leader one more time, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.